The Chicago White Sox could not stop Shohei Ohtani. He put on a show in every aspect possible. Sox lose 4-2. They had the bases loaded, nobody out in the ninth inning and could not execute. Michael Kopech could not stop walking batters, and the Sox are now 13 games under 500 at the halfway point of the season.
You are Locked On White Sox, your daily Chicago White Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Sox fans, welcome back to Locked On White Sox. Thank you for making Locked On White Sox your first listen each and every day. We're free and available on all platforms. Follow us on Twitter at Locked On Sox. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search Locked On White Sox. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Hey, I'm your host, Nick Morawski, a lifelong die-hard Chicago White Sox fan, recording this podcast just blocks from the ballpark in beautiful Bridgeport. You can find me on Twitter at Nick_GGTB. Locked On White Sox is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our Chicago White Sox tried again. They take on the Los Angeles Angels on Wednesday. Lucas Giolito is on the mound. Catch every pitch of the White Sox hometown broadcast with Sirius XM on the SXM app. Search White Sox. Wow, state of the Sox. Not good. 34-47. But just 6 games back in that ever-forgiving AL Central. On Tuesday, the White Sox fell to the Angels 4-2. It's the halfway point of the season. Can you believe it? 81 games in the books. And it's not good, folks. You know that. We expected something better than before. We expected something more. Of course, lyrics from The National off of the album Boxer. Every time we have a game like Tuesday, maybe like Monday, there's been a lot of them this season. I'm reminded of those lyrics from that song. We just expected something better than what we have been seeing over the last few seasons. It's shocking, really. 13 games under 500 at the halfway point in 2022. White Sox were 39-42 at the midway point, but still 6 games back. Can't get away from that 6 games back. Shohei Ohtani put on a show Tuesday night. Wow, he was on the mound and he did it with the bat. Michael Kopech was consistent and not in a good way. Sox offense was dormant again as Tim Anderson and Luis Robert Jr. were each 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. Full details later on in the episode. This was something that I saw Tuesday morning from the Score 670. There are 2 untouchables on the White Sox roster in the mind of USA Today columnist Bob Nightingale. Those would be center fielder Luis Robert Jr. and right-hander Dylan Cease. As for everyone else, nothing would surprise Nightingale ahead of the trade deadline on August 1st. Those are the only 2 untouchables, Nightingale said on the Mully and Haw show on 670 The Score on Tuesday morning. You can't trade Robert. He's a cornerstone of your future. Cease is a dynamic pitcher. They'd get a ton for him, particularly under team control. But if you want to win and you're not going to go into a massive rebuild, you need those 2 guys. I think just about everybody else would be available, but yeah, not those 2 guys. You just can't do it without telling the public we're going into a massive rebuild and going to lose 100 games the next few years. Oh, Bobby, I would not put anything past Jerry and the front office. Sox, though, will have some huge decisions to make here as we're seeing how things are going to go, most likely at the end of. Well, we don't know. Maybe they win in Oakland, but if you've been watching the Sox for a while, you know that the Oakland Coliseum is a house of horrors for our Chicago White Sox. So who knows there? But July, a tough schedule as well. Again, 13 games under 500, and just the categories. Starting pitching has been a different story. Although we're starting to see a few trends here that I'm not really excited about. We'll get to Michael Kopech later in this episode, but offensively, man, just brutal. I mean, run diff, on base percentage, all that kind of stuff. Not pointing to a team that's on the make, that's for sure. Now, maybe Andrew Vaughn is a guy that's untouchable, depending on who you talk to. From a fan perspective, I'm trying to think of any other untouchables. Maybe Andrew Vaughn, because of how he's been groomed, letting Jose Abreu walk and handing the reins to Vaughn. But if a team makes a crazy offer for Vaughn, not sure why they would right now during this season. I think the White Sox are listening. Honestly, of a lot of these players, obviously putting Robert aside and probably Cease. Yeah. You're saying like, you want this guy from us? Really? Okay. What are you willing to offer? I mean, who on this White Sox team, there's some bullpen arms have really impressed. I mean, I think, honestly, I think the White Sox are listening on Cease as well. And maybe even Robert for the same reason. Teams get crazy at the deadline. I wouldn't let Robert go, but if the track record, for the White Sox with regards to spending on starting pitching holds up, maybe the organization sees the writing on the wall with Cease down the road, and if he really turns it on come deadline time, some contender offers the moon. I mean, it all depends on what direction the front office decides to go in and what other teams have to offer the White Sox. They absolutely have to be asking for everything on Dylan Cease, but desperation happens at the deadline. And I just believe, going off of the previous Bob Nightingale article that I mentioned in the previous episode of Locked On White Sox, there are GMs all over baseball that are just kind of hoping, I think, it'd be nice if the White Sox continue to go the way they've been going, because they do have some players, especially bullpen arms, and, maybe a Lucas Giolito that we would like to make an offer on. This was Pedro Grifol after the 9th inning collapse on Monday night. That is tough, but at the same time, one run is not going to cut it. He said, we have to put points on the board, and that's just the way it is. It's tough in this league to win 1-0. What happened? Happened. That 9th inning gets magnified, but we have to push some runs across the board. I'm not going to magnify that 9th inning. And I'll fill in the context where Aaron Bummer couldn't throw it over the plate, was bouncing it in, and Yasmani Grandal couldn't handle it multiple times. We had opportunities. We have to get back to work on Tuesday. White Sox did get back to work, but results were the same. This was Grifol on Ohtani. He's one of the best talents in baseball, if not the best. You make a mistake, he's going to make you pay for it. That's the type of talent we're dealing with. We have to make sure we make good pitches on Tuesday. We have to make sure we take good pitches. None of that really happened. Shohei Ohtani just was not able to be stopped. But again, to Grifol's point, he's one of the best talents in all of baseball, all of the world. Michael Kopech had zero control, but it did not let the game get out of control. Sox just did not have answers for Shohei Ohtani. More on that in a moment. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you with killer deals on last minute tickets and their best price guarantee. You can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. Game Time is the place for last minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Our White Sox face off against the Angels on Wednesday. Catch every pitch of the White Sox hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search White Sox. Southsiders fell to the Halos 4-2 late Tuesday night. There was no Trout in the lineup for the Angels. Eloy was in right field for the Sox, and Tim Anderson back at shortstop, hitting second once again. And it took forever for Pedro Grifol to move Tim Anderson out of that one spot, and I just think it's going to take forever for Pedro Grifol to move TA out of that two spot. It might take a beat writer asking him, questioning him why he's still in the two spot, Grifol getting offended, and then a few days later, maybe moving him and then saying what a great decision that was, almost in a way of like it wasn't made for him. Someone else made the move, and he's just commenting on how appropriate it is for TA to be hitting lower in the order. We shall see. Top of the first, Ohtani on the mound, fly out, and then a strikeout of Anderson, nasty slider, using a sweeper to start off Luis Robert Jr., then a splitter, sweeper, and a splitter to strike him out. Luis Robert Jr. might not see a lot of fastballs anytime soon after Monday's display. Bottom of first, Kopech on the hill, pitching to Ohtani, sitting 95 miles per hour with his fastball, then a changeup, then a 96 mile per hour fastball, middle, and I am not joking. It was middle, and Ohtani absolutely destroyed it to right field quickly. 1-0 Angels. Just wow. I mean, you got to just sit back and just admire. But it was middle. But just the explosion off of Ohtani's bat. Kopech labored in the inning, a base hit to Moustakas, then a 2-out walk. Katz made a first inning visit. Kopech got a strikeout to end the inning. 31 pitches. Top of second, leadoff double for Eloy. Nice job by Vaughn. Ground out to second base to advance. Eloy to third. Yaz struck out on a high fastball. Up to Berger, who has been ice cold lately. A lengthy at-bat sweeper from Ohtani got Berger. A leadoff double was wasted. Bottom second, Kopech issued a leadoff walk. Control problems, needing help from LA to really swing at bad pitches to get him off the hook. After a caught stealing, Kopech walked another batter, then another caught stealing. Kopech was all over the place. He issued his third walk of the inning, slider missing low, fastball flying outside, was able to get a pop out to third to end the inning, 53 pitches after two. Top of third, absolutely nothing. Sox had one hit, 4 strikeouts, and 0 walks after 3. Bottom of 3, Michael Kopech looking lost against Ohtani. I don't blame him. He went 3-0, then walked him on 5 pitches, his 5th walk of the game. He ended up getting out of it without any damage, but Kopech was clearly annoyed and frustrated at his performance. Top of 4, a heavy dose of cutters from Ohtani. Struck out TA. Luis Robert Jr. swung at a 3-0 fastball, just missed it. Eloy flew out to right field. Bottom of 4, Renifo had a 1-out triple down the right field line, then another walk Angels scored on a ground out to second. Really nice play by Andrews, showing off some range in the game. 2-0 Angels. Top of 5. Berger was a fly out to right field, and Yaz was doubled up to end the inning. Yeah, I didn't get too much clarity on what happened there. There's no way Yaz was running. And it's like, what's Daryl Boston doing? Is he communicating with Yaz and making sure Yaz understands how many outs? It's just very bizarre, and one of those fundamental things, if anything, that just keeps nagging the White Sox. Bottom of 5, Michael Kopech back out there with 91 pitches on the arm and really zero control. Had Ohtani 0-2, went full, and then he had a leadoff hit. Kopech walked Drury, and that was it. Grifol came to get him. Touquet Toussaint came in, inherited a 2-on, nobody out situation, got a double play, then a strikeout. Toussaint stranded the 2 runners. Top of 6, Sox had something going. 2-on, 1 out. Tim Anderson struck out looking, and Luis Robert Jr. fell victim to off-speed stuff. Sox with 3 hits, 9 strikeouts after 6. Bottom of 6, nothing. Toussaint was still in the game. He had been very good, pretty good with it in a White Sox uniform. Top of 7, Eloy with a leadoff base hit up the middle that almost took Ohtani's head off. Eloy hit the ball hard a few times on Tuesday. Yaz walked, and Sox had first and second with a 1 out. Ohtani was at 102 pitches. Still just a 2-0 game. And after a conference at the mound, Ohtani was removed. And then a force out at third. Sheets ripped a base hit off of a chin-high fastball. So 2-1 Angels. Bottom 7, Shohei Ohtani does it again. Solo home run to left center, effortless with essentially one hand. 3-1 Angels. They tacked on another thanks to Mike Moustakas. 4-1 LA. Top of 8, 1-2-3 inning for our White Sox. And then top of the 9th. This one was a crazy inning for the Sox. It ended up in a rough manner, but it was wild. Another leadoff double for Eloy Jimenez. Base hit by Vaughn brought Eloy home. So 4-2 LA Angels. Still nobody out. Zach Remillard with the 3rd Sox hit in a row. Berger with an infield hit. So you've got the bases loaded, Sox down by 2. Sebi Zavala struck out, and then Elvis rolled into a double play, game over, mercy. I mean, you know, I got to really go back, and I've looked up the numbers before. I've got to figure this out again. Bases loaded, nobody out. How the Sox do in the league, not only American League, but in all of baseball. Because I feel like every time there's a situation, bases loaded, nobody out, they come away with absolutely nothing. What a way to end the game. It was really the Shohei Ohtani show, though. Impressive to watch. I mean, it was hyped up, get to see him on the mound and what he can do. I mean, he had double-digit strikeouts, and he had 2 home runs. I mean, and the power that he has on the mound. I saw Shohei Ohtani play last year when the Angels came to the South Side, and he was not on the mound. He just hit, and really the Sox handled him well. I think he struck out 2 or 3 times in the game, but just his presence, knowing that he can do absolutely anything at any time, you got to watch out for him. When he's on the mound and he's swinging a bat, and the way he did that on Tuesday, I mean, it is a one-man wrecking crew. Kopech, boy, what a rough outing for him. 4 innings, again, 4 hits, 2 earned runs. So that's not bad, but 7 walks, 3 strikeouts. His ERA sits at 4.08 through 102 pitches, 4 innings. Kopech's last 4 starts, 4 innings, 4 innings, 4 and a third innings, 5 innings. Long ago, the back-to-back outings back in May, where he went 7 and 8 and gave up like 3 hits total in both of those outings combined, with a bunch of strikeouts and low amount of walks. I mean, gosh, that was, we thought, okay, we might not get this every single time, but I think he's finally arrived and he has gone back. Again, he's not given up a ton of runs, but still, he's only able to go 4 innings. I mean, that just isn't going to cut it. I'm sorry. I know it's such a different game this day and age. And if you go 5, you've maybe you've set your team up for success, even though I don't want to buy into that. I feel like you got to go 6, 6, maybe 7 if you can, but 7 is very rare. I think 6 would be good. 4, that streak of 4 and a third, 5, that's a bad streak right now for Michael Kopech. He looks very lost. He looks very unsure of himself. And the confident Kopech that we saw, trusting his stuff and his abilities back in mid to late May, in those back-to-back starts, that is nowhere to be found, and he knows it, and his body language shows it right now. Sox offense, just 2 runs, 9 hits. Sox were 3 for 12 with runners in scoring position. Lucas Giolito will try to build off his previous outing against the Red Sox and probably bolster his trade value as he auditions for a possible suitor on Wednesday. More on that in a moment. So game 3 of the series, Sox Angels on Wednesday, another late one out in Anaheim. Giolito on the hill. Lucas Giolito has a 3-1 record with an ERA of 3.97 and 56 strikeouts in 8 appearances against the Angels in his career. Faced the Angels on May 30th on the South Side. 5 innings, 4 hits, 3 earned runs, a couple of home runs, a couple of walks, and 5 strikeouts. Lucas Giolito is 5-5 with an ERA of 3.41 and 99 strikeouts in 16 appearances this season. Last time we saw Lucas Giolito, it was a hard luck loss to the Red Sox in the series opener back on Friday. 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 10 strikeouts. So as I mentioned a couple episodes ago, I believe it was, the Los Angeles Angels might be looking for some pitching help if they continue to trend in the right direction and can kind of claw, not just in the AL West, but in that wild card picture. They're nipping there to get into that last spot. They're going to be looking at arms, whether it's some relievers or some starters. And I just think if Giolito keeps stringing some positive outings together, all the smoke surrounding around, they might not bring back Giolito back. They're going to let him walk. They're going to be shopping him around. There's something to it. I absolutely do believe that if the Sox continue to go the way they've been going and Giolito keeps turning in solid outing after solid outing and facing a potential suitor, against the Angels, we shall see. Teams like the Phillies, the Dodgers, the Astros have been talked about. And, here we are, 81 games. I mean, how does it feel? It feels so incomplete. It feels like we were lied to, defeated, let down. The hype over fundamentals, and we're going to be playing the game a better way and better results, and all the stuff that they were trying to put in the offseason, new coaching staff, and Grifol bringing this energy and what the focus is going to be like, and he's going to have this team buying into his system, what he wants to be done, and the language that he's speaking, along with the folks that he has surrounded himself with. And we just haven't seen it. Haven't even really seen glimpses. 4 or 5 games in a row. I mean, is that the high water mark for this team through the first half? Unbelievable. It's unfortunate. Getting beat by Shohei Ohtani is, what are you going to do? You just kind of have to shrug your shoulders. And this guy is an absolute monster. I mean, we haven't seen anything like it. And at least in my lifetime, and that goes back probably many generations where we haven't seen anybody like a Shohei Ohtani. So, thankfully he won't be on the mound on Wednesday, but most likely he'll be in that lineup. And, he has hit a home run in each of the games. He's got 3 in the series. He can hit mistakes, but you can't go middle. on Shohei Ohtani. Even if it is 96 miles per hour, he will do what he did to Kopech on Tuesday. Folks, thank you so very much for making this podcast part of your daily routine. You can find the Locked On White Sox podcast absolutely everywhere you find your podcasts. We are on Twitter at Locked On Sox. You can find me on Twitter at Nick_GGTB. Hey, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and get any questions or comments you have in at lockedonsox@gmail.com. Sox take on the Angels on Wednesday. Catch every pitch of the White Sox hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search White Sox. Thanks for making Locked On White Sox your first listen every day. Hey, everydayers, on the next episode, I will recap Lucas Giolito's outing, and hopefully it's a solid outing, and Ohtani is kept in control. Appreciate you making time for the Locked On White Sox podcast. I'm Nick Morawski, and until next time, go Sox.